Hey everyone, my name is Megan Godfrey. I am a sales rep here at Rapsodo. I am joined by Megan Walsh and John Garrett. Megan heads up our customer experience department and John is an engineer here. I'm going to have John start us off with a little bit talking about some of our data points and we'll go from there.
Okay, perfect. So first we're going to talk about pitching, and then we're going to talk about hitting. So for really just data in general, what this data is describing is how the ball is moving through the air. So this is qualitative data that we are describing quantitatively. So qualitative is what you see with your eyes, and quantitative is essentially putting numbers to what you're seeing. So really there are inputs, which would be things that the pitcher or the hitter can kind of control. And then there's the outputs. So we're going to kind of divide up the metrics into inputs and outputs. So we'll go to the next screen. And the first input would be where the pitcher releases the ball. So in this pitching screen shown here for baseball, you can see the release height and the release side. So again, this is just the point where the pitcher is releasing the ball. On the next one here, this is the velocity and the max velocity of the sessions. This would be of all the pitches that have been thrown. So the velocity is just the speed that the ball travels after it's been released. The next input that we're going to mention is the release angles. So this would be the direction that the ball is thrown, either up and down or side to side. So what we're showing is release angle. Down there is the direction the ball is thrown up and down, and side to side would be that horizontal angle. The next input is spin, and this is a big one because spin has a big influence on how the ball is ultimately going to move. So here we're showing both, the total spin rate, which is how fast the ball is spinning, and then all of these other metrics that you can see on the screen really describe the direction that the ball is spinning in the 3D space. And then, so you have the metrics over on the right. On the left there, we have a spinning ball visual where you can kind of see how that ball is spinning. We're going to show that a little bit better. We've got a video recording that we'll be showing in just a couple slides. But then this is really all of the inputs that the pitcher kind of has control over. So again, where they're releasing the ball, how fast the ball is moving, the direction the ball starts moving in, how that ball is spinning. And then the output of that, the result of all of these things that the pitcher can control is the strike zone position, which is shown there on the bottom. So that's just where the ball ends up in the strike zone. And then the break is the other output, which essentially is describing how the ball moved from the point where it was released to where it ends up in the strike zone. So that's it for inputs and outputs for pitching. Next, we're going to be showing a video of this. In this case, it's going to be the softball screen.
So with the Pro 2.0, it is available for pitching and hitting. It's an all-in-one device. It has pitching on one side, hitting on the other. The unit can be set up within about 5 to 10 minutes. For baseball, it's going 20 feet in front of home plate. For softball, it's going 17 feet in front of home plate and can be used indoors or outdoors. You just need that amount of space, the 20 feet or the 17 feet, and you set it up and you're ready to go. So with the unit, when you're connected to the app, you kind of saw the main screen when John was talking about the data. This is the field view that you're seeing. You have the ability to see the data overlay on the specific shot. So that hit or that pitch, and right now we're on pitches. So you see on the left, all of the pitches. You'll see at the top, that will be the player name. And then you can see, like John was talking about, the spinning ball. So all of the metrics are there. You're seeing the vertical and horizontal break. You're seeing the direction that ball is moving that correlates with those data points.
And the next thing we're going to talk about here is for hitting. So it's very similar, where there are some things that the hitter in this case has direct control over. and then the output. So the inputs would be how the ball is coming off the bat, and then the output would be how the ball travels through space and where it lands. So on this next slide here, the first input, which is pretty straightforward, is the exit velocity. So this is the speed that the ball travels after it hits the bat. The next inputs would be very similar to pitching. We have the angles. So that's the direction that the ball starts to move after it comes off the bat. So launch angle is the direction the ball is hit up and down. And exit direction is the direction the ball is hit from side to side. So in this case, for this hit, it was hit 19.7 degrees to the left, which is towards the third base side. The other input, again, just like with pitching, is spin. So spin has a big impact on how far the ball is going to travel. The more backspin, or the more the spin is mostly backspin, the more it will travel. When you introduce side spin, then it's going to cut down on the distance. So really, in this case, we're trying to get the spin to be as much backspin as possible. And then again, all of these inputs, the speed that the ball is coming off the bat, the direction that the ball is traveling, and how the ball is spinning through the air, then results in the output, which for hitting is the distance that the ball travels. So how far away this ball lands. We're going to show a video just like we showed for the pitching, this time for hitting, and in this case for baseball.
So kind of the same setup here for baseball and for hitting versus pitching. You're going to see the same, the metrics on the left. You're able to click into the field view. One thing I do want to mention is you have the ability to, when you start a session, you're going to see the advanced metrics. You're going to see all the metrics that we offer. If you are working on exit velo for hitting, if you're working on spin direction for pitching, you're able to do a basic mode, and I think that's going to come up and you'll be able to see that as well. But you can kind of simplify the metrics if you're working with younger players. If you're focusing on one metric, it gives you that option, as you can see right there. So really great tool to view the data, just the numbers, view the data on the field view with that data overlay. And then next, we're going to show you a video. This is what you'll see. It's a lot easier to blow it up for us to show you. This is the video that is recorded with the iPad when you're connected to the unit. So you're able to record video from any angle where the iPad is located. And you'll see those same numbers that you would see in that session on that data overlay. You see the strike zone location and all those metrics that match up with that specific hit.
I think one thing too to call out on the video feature here is that it's completely hands-free too. So like, for example, this is our testing team here, and we literally have the iPad set up on a tripod in the opposite batter's box, and it wirelessly connects to the device, and it's automatically cutting that video and playing it back. So really it's just an added visual component on top of the data to correlate that with each swing and each pitch. So it's very nice to have it in.
And last thing on the app view, when you guys are using this, think about as you're recording all of the videos, all of the data, you are going to be able to see all of those shots, all of those sessions that you record after the fact. Everything is going to our cloud platform. That's what we're going to cover next. But once you're in a session, what you see in a session, you can view in some way on our cloud platform by downloading reports, by viewing these videos, by seeing the field view. So Megan is going to cover that next. If you guys have other questions, feel free to throw them in the chat. We can address them as we go on too.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm going to dive into a little bit of what Rapsodo looks like from a post data collection standpoint. The Rapsodo cloud is a very vital part of the Rapsodo ecosystem. Essentially, the cloud is going to be your main hub to look at your data and track that history over time for your athletes. The cloud website is best accessed on a computer with Google Chrome. In a minute here, I am going to pull up the website to actually go through it and interact to show you guys a few of the different features. But a few main things we're going to cover is just an overall definition of what the cloud is. roster management, and then the big thing here is the session review. Like Megan said, you're able to see all of the data and everything that you recorded during the session on the cloud, and more. So there's definitely a lot more that you can access there in terms of charts, reporting, and all of that stuff. So there's definitely a lot that you can unlock by going to the cloud. So I'm gonna exit out here and hopefully I don't lose you guys with the screen share and get this pulled up.
When you look at our cloud, you're gonna see she's gonna be on a specific player profile. With our memberships, you have specific player profiles. Everyone will have their own profile to collect their data on. So that's how you're going to track their progress over time. The players will have access to their own data as well. So it's really beneficial to have the membership to be able to view the data in real time, but also after the fact, to be able to share it, to be able to track the progress.
Yeah, so like Megan mentioned here, this is an account that's already completely built out. Essentially what you guys would be seeing as coaches, this is where you're gonna build your roster, right? So you're gonna be able to invite your players if you're a high school program, get them all uploaded from your entire roster, or if you're a travel team that's adding players from your teams over the summer or a camp, anything like that, you'll get your roster fully uploaded here. And then eventually you'll get to the point where you have that built out, and this is what your cloud account's gonna look like. So from a high level perspective, a couple key things to point out here. You saw in the visuals that we did have different visuals for pitching and hitting, but also different visuals in the app for baseball and softball. Similar on the cloud here, if you look at the top, we have a baseball tab that separates things for baseball specifically, and then softball as well. So if you are a high school program or an academy that does both, you're able to separate that out to make it a little bit easier for your coaches and the players to see everything. In terms of the content, both sports are similar in terms of the layout. So what we're gonna do here is look at a player specifically. You can see on the roster all of the player names, the coach, any groups that they might be in and their last play date. So we're gonna take a look at a test player that has some recent data here. When we select this player, it's gonna take us specifically into their player profile, where we can look at the data on a more specific level for that athlete. And then you can see here, so this is just a general overview. This athlete has pitching and hitting data. One of the key features that's really nice about the cloud website is that it stores everything all time on your Rapsodo account. So if you have an athlete that comes in and plays for you for 4 years, you're gonna hypothetically be able to have 4 years of data stored here that they can look at and use that for developing over time or even for recruiting. So you're able to adjust this filter here to see whatever you guys would want to look at, if it's a specific training block, or if you even want to go back to the previous season to look at how they're improving there. What I'm going to take you guys to take a look at here next is the sessions tab, and this is where we're going to get a little bit more granular here. Taking a look at some of these hitting sessions here, everything is pretty well organized by date in the name of the session, but I'm going to go ahead and take a look at this session here with 34 swings.
And you can see they're labeled by session type too. So with the hitting, you're going to be able to do T sessions, you're able to do front toss, live pitching machine. With pitching, you're able to do like a rehab session to label it as that. You're able to do live and just like a regular bullpen session. So it really gives you the opportunity to label it how it works for you.
Yeah, so that's something that's really nice. We didn't have a visual of this in the deck for the app, but you choose that ahead of time when you're connecting to the device. So really it's more power to you in the sense that you can organize your data in a way that's very easy for you to remember. Hey, John, did a rehab session or anything like that, to where you can organize that and then go back and look at it when you are analyzing it on the cloud. But diving in here to look at some of the overviews that we have, this is for a specific hitting session. You have the opportunity to look at several different charts in breakdowns that we can kind of go through here. This information too, you'll have access to this for all of your athletes, and then I'll show you in a second how we can export this if you guys would want to use it for recruiting or to share it on a more individualized level with your athletes. But these are just some of the different charts that you guys will have access to very easily on the cloud. If we go on over to the details tab, this is kind of where the very kind of specific shot details live. And a lot of people really like looking at this, to see the specific data. You're gonna be able to see all of the metrics that you recorded in the session come up specifically here, shot by shot. What you can also do here, and I'll get this pulled up for you guys, but you have the ability to export the data. We have a couple different options. The main one and one that really targets youth players are kind of going through the recruiting process would be our PDF reports. I already have one pre-downloaded here, but you'll see with this download visual, you have the option to download that PDF report. And then a CSV file as well. And then you can also download videos if you took any from the iPad, like we showed on in the PowerPoint there. But let me pop on over to the PDF to show you guys that. Okay, so this is the PDF report. We have these available for pitching, hitting, baseball, and softball. So there's a lot of information that you can pull into this report that's almost like a snapshot of whatever sessions you want to include. That is kind of a perk where you can customize what is in there. This is just one specific, I think it's 35 hit session, but if I wanted to, I could put all of my swings from the entire fall session if I wanted to. But essentially, this packages up everything really nicely. A lot of the charts that we already saw in the cloud pulls into this report to where you can see hit outcomes, classifications, some spray charts. There's a ton of really good information in here. If we scroll down a little bit further, there is some like hot and cold zones for the strike zone location for hitting. Pitching as well has different types of breakdowns, but I think that report, it has just as much information. It's about 4 or 5 pages of the pitching report that you can see here. But the PDF, once you download it, you can email it out. You can send it to coaches. It can be accessible on your phone. So this is something that a lot of coaches really like to use to share with players. And players have access to this as well on a personal level. And then one final thing that I will show you guys, I'm gonna backtrack a little bit, but I wanna make sure that you guys can see these visuals. Not only can you see the on-field 3D field view during the session, live with the batted ball, you can also see that when you're on the clouds here. So let me go back. We're gonna go to these 3D visualizations. Hopefully they don't come through laggy for you, because this is a pretty cool thing to take a look at, to especially look at spray charts. And then on the pitching side, you can kind of compare and do some pitch design to see how everything is breaking and comparing. So I'm gonna go ahead and pick my session. And then once it loads up here, we'll have the ability to pick as many shots as we want. And then it will show us a data overlay. So I'm gonna go ahead and hit play. Okay, so I picked all the shots from that session. So this is a pretty cool visual here. You're able to see a spray chart of all of those hits. This was a team session, so keep that in mind too. But you're able to basically adjust this to see everything that you would like from different angles. We can go ahead and replay that so that you can see it. But this is a pretty cool tool that is accessible on the cloud that you guys can utilize for pitching and hitting. And like I mentioned, all of this stuff, when it comes down to the personal player, they have access to that as well. So the players can be empowered to utilize that data too, if they want to.
We had a question, Jake N asked about comparing pitchers and hitters data pre and post injury. I think that kind of goes into the session type. So if you log it as a rehab session, you can go back to pre-injury. Basically, we are going to give you the data. Unfortunately, we don't do anything of how to fix it or what is different in their form or anything like that. It would just be what the data shows pre and post injury.
Yeah, I think that's a good point to make just about data in general, is that looking at all of these different data points is a way for you as a coach or for a player as well to craft kind of the story of their performance, right? So that you can put down hard numbers to describe what happened in this session, rather than just trying to remember like, oh, that third hit was really good. You know, if you have the hard numbers, the qualitative data to describe why that third hit was as good as it was, that's where it can be really helpful, because the data tells a story. And really, Rapsodo isn't a replacement for a coach. It is a tool for the coach to, be able to tell the story of how their players improving, how their pitcher, is changing pre and post injury, how that bears out in the data, which describes, the performance.
Yeah, I think it's also a good point. Like, you can use this year round. You're using this in the off season to hone in your pitches, to make grip changes, to work on the outside pitch from at the plate. And then as pitchers or hitters, you're going into a game, if you're using it in a bullpen, you know what your baseline is from the end of that season. So you know where you should be in the bullpen before a game. So using Rapsodo year round is really helpful, just to progress, but also to know exactly where you're at and where you should be when you're stepping onto the mound or at the plate in the game.
I think I'll pop back over to the deck, unless we can come back to that if any questions come up regarding the cloud specifically.
And I know there have been some comments in the chat. If you want to throw questions in the Q&A section,
Yeah.
just so that we can be a little more organized, that would be great.
Well, yeah, one of the questions, we do not do anything with catcher pop times or throwdown. No.
Yeah. So Rapsodo, kind of what to like preface and give some context to the actual unit. We do have the Pro 2.0 device. If you guys see it up there, that's what's sitting right there. This is a radar and optical based unit. It has 2 cameras on each side, and so we exclusively capture ball flight data. Like we said earlier, for pitching and hitting for baseball and softball, so no catcher pop time, but we do capture that full ball flight to be able to get full images of the data. So, right. We can go on to the next slide that talks a little bit about pricing, and then we'll dive into more questions.
So with the Pro 2.0, like we've discussed, we have hitting and pitching in the one unit. However, we make it a little bit versatile for you guys. If you are at home, if you just want to start with hitting, or if you just want to start with pitching, you're able to do that. So with hitting or pitching, the unit's going to be $3,500. If you want to start with hitting and pitching, you can go ahead and just do the 2 device licenses for $4,500, all in that one unit. If you start with hitting first and you want to add on pitching later, then you would pay just $1,000 one-time fee, and the unit itself would be activated. There's no new hardware or anything like that. So that is pricing for the unit itself. For high school programs, we do have special pricing, and that's something that we can discuss if you're interested. Our team will be reaching out to people that have attended. So if that's your organization, we can definitely discuss that as well. With the membership, you saw all the benefits from our cloud platform. It just depends, the membership, what number of players you're getting. So at home use, we say 2 players is the number of players that you get. If you have 3 kids, we would allow you to have 3 player profiles. But it is for that at home use to collect data in the cage at home, on the field, on the mound, in the bullpen, everything like that. High school, you have $1,000 yearly membership, and that is 100 player profiles. And then colleges, academies, travel teams, that's where we're getting into 150 player profiles. You're able to have everyone have their own profile, collect the data under their profile, and see everything that they've recorded with those sessions in the cloud on our mobile app, to be able to view and review the data. I know for those that attend the webinar, we're offering an iPad if you purchase within 30 days of this webinar. Our sales team will reach out to you guys. If you have questions, we are happy to answer any other questions. Oh, that's a good question. Okay, we did go to question about tracking pitching and hitting at the same time. With the Pro 2.0, it does not. The Pro 2.0 is in either pitching or hitting. Our Pro 3.0 unit, that's the level up from the Pro 2.0. That unit is baseball only, but will collect live pitching with live hitting.
There are also additional, more advanced data points that are offered with the Pro 3.0 that aren't included with the Pro 2.0. So that's another advantage of that, again, more expensive hardware. So that's a good question.
Yeah, if you're interested in the 3.0, this webinar was more to cover the Pro 2.0, but happy to discuss that, kind of the differences and what might work best for your program. A lot of programs do a lot of scrimmages and do want the Pro 3.0. But this one is specifically about Pro 2.0.
And I would call out to the Pro 3.0, the cloud that we logged into and looked at, same cloud, you get that same access. The only difference there is that you would have access to the higher level pitching metrics that we're able to provide with the Pro 3.0. And then as well as those live on live sessions where you're doing the pitching and hitting data collection simultaneously.
Yeah, I think we'll give it just a minute or so. If you guys have other questions, feel free to throw them in the Q&A.
Yeah, let's see.
If
Do we miss any in the chat that we can potentially pull up, or maybe we'll stop the versions with pitching and hitting combo? That's a good question. That's definitely something that we've gotten feedback from kind of the softball community that there's a need for that. And we have that in mind. We specifically don't have an exact timeline or details on what that sort of device will look like, but I can let you guys know that it is kind of on our product development and engineering team's mind to where we can get to that point for softball. So no clear details, but I can assure you guys that it's front of mind in terms of new development for us.
So we've had a couple people kind of mention that they have our older hitting 2.0 or pitching 2.0 units. We do offer a trade-in and upgrade program. And we can discuss that as a sales call. If you upgrade to the Pro 2.0 from our older units, you would qualify for the high school membership.
And then I think there was one question that came in a little bit early on, about, let me just go back up. So this was set up. So if you can set it up in under 10 minutes indoors, or out on the field, I would say yes. The first couple times that I've been in customer success here at Rapsodo for 5 years, and it really, the more you do it, the more of an expert you'll get at it. It's new technology, so I definitely would anticipate to give yourself maybe a little bit of extra time the first like 1 or 2 times that you do it. But once you start getting it out on the field, it's very simple. The key things, you got to make sure that the device is charged, and then proper placement of the device is very important at the 20 feet and 17 feet. But outside of that, it really should take you a couple minutes to power on the device and then get it connected to your iPad. So the quicker and more that you use it, you'll be able to become used to that flow. And I would say, honestly, under 5 minutes is what somebody that really kind of knows what they're doing can get it going. And then you'll have the iPad kind of ready to go and start your session. So definitely would give yourself a little bit of time so that you can learn the system when it comes to the hardware and the app, but under 10 minutes should be very feasible.
And with that 10 minutes, the unit itself is going to give off a Wi-Fi signal. So you do not need Wi-Fi to run this
Yeah,
unit.
that's a good point. Yeah, so you can take it out to the middle of nowhere, have it on a field that doesn't have Wi-Fi or hotspot, in order to record data. For the post session analysis, like looking at the cloud and everything, that would require internet. But what's really nice is that all of the data you record is stored locally on that app on your iPad. So you can easily just finish your practice for the day, take the iPad home, take it back into the school at the office, plug it in and connect to internet, and that data uploads to our cloud, and then it's there. Once it's in the cloud, it's there forever. So that's really the flow that I would recommend with that, but definitely not required to have internet when you are recording data. So that's an important call out that we get questions on.
Megan, can you cover if a baseball and a softball team at a high school are sharing an account,
Yeah.
how sub coaches and everything work?
Yes, so that's a great question. And actually, I highly recommend it, especially if the baseball and softball programs have a good relationship, even if they share space in terms of indoor facilities, anything like that, because it can be a cost saving exercise as well. When it comes to our coach account structure, if you have one membership, we have a master coach that is considered the account admin. You can choose if that would be the baseball or the softball coach, but that structure with the membership allows you to invite what we call sub coaches. Those sub coaches can have access to players that they work with. So essentially, if the baseball coach is the master coach, we can set up the softball coach as a sub coach, and that sub coach only has access to our softball players. So it's a very streamlined process. It's super easy once you get it set up. And our customer support team would be more than happy to help you, but it makes it very nice to keep everything separated, baseball and softball. So I definitely, if there's any interest there, we would happily provide more details, but it's relatively simple.
Yeah, and I think it's a lot easier now too, because softball has its own app now. This is new for the Pro 2.0. Softball it's a Rapsodo softball app. And when you log in as a softball coach and when you log in as a baseball coach to the Rapsodo baseball app, you're only going to see the baseball players on the baseball app and softball players on the softball app. So it's even a little
Yeah.
bit more separated.
Yeah.
To make it easier for those coaches to manage those players.
Yeah.
Another question we have here is, do I need internet while using this device? Saying that at their field, they don't have internet, can the information be synced later? That's correct. You don't need internet while using the device. In fact, with the iPad, you connect to a Wi-Fi signal from the device itself. So you won't be connected to the other internet while you're connected to the device. After you finish the session, then you will sync all of the data after you connect back to the internet. So no, you do not need to have internet while using the device.
Yeah, I think
Take one of these.
Yeah, we see a couple of support related, like troubleshooting questions. We can take a note of those and have our support team reach out. I think that would be easier to do it one-on-one, schedule a time to have the unit with you.
Yeah, I can definitely, I'll call that out here. We, unfortunately, during this webinar, we won't have time to do one-on-one support. But we do have a phone line, so that's why I brought up this slide here. So this is the contact information for our support team. We are available 9 to 5 Central Time, so we're just out of business hours right now, unfortunately. But if you want to go ahead and give us a call tomorrow, we would be happy to walk through it with you in real time. I understand going back and forth on email isn't always the quickest thing, and typically too, we can help you better if you have the device over the phone. So definitely give us a call during business hours, and we'll be happy to help you. You can also shoot us an email to schedule a call. If that works better for you, we can get it on our calendars with one of our support reps. So we're definitely happy to help there. Sorry, what else that we didn't hit? I know we mentioned the trade-in program a little bit, but definitely if anybody on here has hitting 2.0, pitching 2.0, that trade-in program is pretty lucrative, to where you can get a new Pro 2.0 device, with all of the upgrades and everything like that for a relatively low cost. So that's out there if anybody is an existing customer or inherited any units from previous staff or anything like that.
I think we've gotten to most all the questions. We appreciate you guys jumping onto this and hope we helped you get a better visual of what Rapsodo offers and how it may fit into your program. We have the list that has attended this webinar, so our sales team and our support team will be reaching out. If you guys have questions, feel free to reach out to us. We're happy to help you in any way that we can. Rapsodo, we know, is a great tool for coaches to utilize and for players to kind of understand where they sit data with their data. So appreciate you guys jumping on, and we hope to talk to you guys soon.
Thank you
Thank
guys.
you.
Yeah, thank you for attending.